Hello, ladies, gentlemen, and everyone else. I'm Piece of the Universe, and this is the State of the Channel for 2019. First off, let's talk about what happened in 2018. Recording my gameplay on Twitch really changed my view of how much I game. I've kept a schedule of at least one video a day for years now. Typically, that meant 2 games were featured at once, scheduled for alternating days. But I can actually game for about 4 hours a day, 4 days a week. Once that schedule was set, I could start playing with the format a bit. At first, I featured 3 games at once, one that would release every day, and 2 that would alternate. Now I think I've settled on 4 featured games, 2 on alternating days. Why do this? Why not just focus on a single game? In a word, burnout. I don't want to get tired of a game before I'm done with it. I want to have fun. For me, that means I need to change up what I'm going to play. When I was releasing a video a day for the same game, that meant that game, for whatever reason, had priority. It also meant that there were days that I didn't want to play it, but I had to in order to maintain the schedule. Fortunately, it was easy enough to switch to a more versatile format. With videos releasing on alternate days, a 4-hour gaming session split up into episodes basically means 4 videos for that week for that game. If the video is only releasing 3 days of the week, that means I've increased my buffer by 1 day. And buffers are important. This is not, may I remind you, my day job. My actual job often demands that I go on junkets or other corporate escapades, and that means that I can't game for weeks at a time. I'd rather that not impact my release schedule, so I have a buffer for at least 2 weeks out. If I manage my buffer correctly, there shouldn't be an interruption of a series until it's done. Ever. So, in the end, that means this past year has taught me that a single video per day is playing on easy mode. So I've upped the ante. At least 2 videos a day, or 14 a week, for 4 different games. If that wasn't complicated enough, I've also managed to maintain a separate schedule for 2 weekly series, Blood Bowl and Divinity Original Sin 2. So, in total, that's somewhere around 20 hours a week on top of my day job. But it's video games, so it's all in fun, right? Right, at least that's the idea. Let's talk about the games we covered this past year. We've actually done quite a bit, but some of these had some special cases, and we'll talk about some hits and misses that we made down the road. Definite hits. Nier Automata, a solid action-adventure game that occasionally likes to pretend it's a shmup. I had a lot of fun playing through it, and maybe it's a shmup that pretends it's an action-adventure game? Either way, a lot of fun, and definitely worth going through all the endings. Blossom Tales, The Sleeping King. Excellent Zelda-like in the grand tradition. Maybe a little shorter than I'd like, and I really think they could have expanded with the whole Dark World mechanic that I was looking for, but still, definitely worth playing. God of War 2018. Everyone was talking up this game, and rightly so. I had a lot of fun, even if I never did go back and play the newly added New Game Plus modes. The Valkyries made for some excellent optional bosses, and the storyline had some nice notes with a great ending. Into the Breach. I'll never say that I'm good at this game, but I can appreciate some mech stomping, bug squishing action as much as the next guy. There's really no story to speak of, but the strategy kept me coming back for more. Mages of Mystralia. A solid adventure game that I don't feel hit all the elements quite right, but everything seemed to work in good proportion. The puzzle boss at the end was a welcome surprise. Time Spinner. A good Metroidvania, and I really can't resist the time travel elements. I wish the writers had taken a little more time to flesh out the paradoxes in the lore, but the game was a joy to play. Mulaka. I'm glad I got a chance to play this. It almost feels like a classic game released for a console of a bygone age. Regalia of Men and Monarchs. My only complaint is that it's almost too easy. I never felt rushed to complete the objectives on time because anything extra you do carries over for the next season. And after a while, even the strategy layer became a cakewalk. Still fun and a good story, but definitely sits in a gray area for me. Forgotten Anne. Excellent animation, good story, held down by a shoddy port. I wish I could only remember the good, but I keep coming back to that damned elevator puzzle that bugged out for me. Otherwise excellent, but maybe not on PC. Dark Souls Remastered. Just as good as I remembered, and definitely an inspiration to not only continue the series, but to look for other series to play through. Stumbles and Misses. Sega Mega Drive and Genesis Classics. I'm not good at video games, so a quick look at a smattering of games I've never even looked at before was maybe not my best choice. There are some games in that collection I'd like to go back to, mostly the RPGs, but I feel like I did not present myself well for most of that collection. One Shot. The game itself is fine, and the breaking of the fourth wall was excellently done, but it's a little hard to really get a grasp on how I feel about it. Apparently there is yet more to the game, even though we seem to have reached an endpoint, but I haven't mustered up the wherewithal to return to it, and maybe that's telling. Monster Hunter World. Way too much grind for a series, I think. The monsters are impressive, but the story is lackluster and the gameplay is only engaging if you're a fellow player. Eventually, I hit a point where I would have to grind a lot of the same enemies for better gear, and I checked out. Something to play occasionally, maybe, but by and large, the game is just not for me. Surviving Mars. I had a lot of fun with this series, but Paradox games always intimidate me. There's a lot going on under the hood, and while I was able to handle the easy and medium scenarios somewhat well, the hard ones might as well have been impossible. I may return to this game someday. There's some interesting DLC on the horizon, but not anytime soon. Battletech. Speaking of the Paradox intimidation, Battletech ramps that up and makes every victory a hard-won scrabble. I love the mechs, but the game might be a bit too much for me. Supposedly, the new DLC's career mode is a better way to experience the game, so maybe we'll return to it in a year or so when the scars have healed. Battle Chasers Night War. The art is brilliant, the strategy layer is solid, the equipment's a bit problematic, and the story ends with no real resolution. I understand there's a comic, and I definitely want to pick that up, but I'm not sure I would play a sequel to this game since there wasn't even an attempt to provide a final fight with the big bad. Last year's goals. I made some predictions on what I was going to play in 2018. Some of those happened, but a lot of those didn't. It basically comes down to time and completeness. I've noticed that I'm usually not good at returning to a game. Once I've played it, that's it. Hope to get better at that, but the easiest solution is just not to play until the game is well and truly finished. All the DLC should be out, the devs have moved on to other projects, and the reviews are in. That probably means I'm never going to play an MMO again, but I think that era of gaming, for me at least, might be done. It's possible I'll change my mind if something catches my eye, but it seems unlikely. It also means that I'll be slower to play the AAA franchise games, as those almost always have DLC. Spider-Man's release date was in September, but didn't wrap up its DLC until mid-December, I think. Tomb Raider still hasn't finished its DLC, and as you can tell here, it might not be done until May. It does say times are subject to change, so somewhere around there. And Assassin's Creed Odyssey I really want to play, but it won't be done, by my definition at least, until, well, summer-ish? It says spring there. Summer, well, somewhere late in the year. Anyway. So that leads us to the upcoming year. Basically, I think the main goal is to keep releasing 2 videos a day for the rest of the year. My streaming schedule seems right on point, so that's going to continue from last year. Tuesdays and Thursdays at 1800 hours, Saturday and Sunday 0800. Viewers, subscribers, I'm going to completely ignore those numbers this year. It might be nice to reach a threshold where I get paid, but I'm not going to push for it, as I don't need the extra stress in my life. As for the actual games, well, it's mostly going to be playing catch-up with 2018. Spider-Man is definitely on the list, as it got nothing but rave reviews, so I'm really looking forward to it. The last one we played was Amazing Spider-Man 2. Well, that was actually a little while ago. And that was solid, and this promises to be a much, much better game. I'm really, really looking forward to. We'll finish up the Dark Souls trilogy, and then maybe play some other Souls-like, say, Surge. That actually is getting some really good reviews, even though maybe it was a bit of a miss when it first came out. Neo also seems pretty promising. The samurai objective or theme seems to actually be pretty well received. And of course, Sekiro, assuming it's fully complete by the end of the year, and that's hard to say. Nathan Drake and his companions aren't done with their adventures yet, so we'll be tearing through those as much as we can. Once we reach the end of that series, we'll switch over to his gender-flip counterpart, Lara Croft, in Shadow of the Tomb Raider. We might just be able to wrap up our Blood Bowl series this year if I can keep to my weekly schedule. 3 games for every race in Blood Bowl, and we're nearing the bottom of the list. After that, who knows? Maybe we'll join a league or two instead of facing off randoms. Divinity Original Sin 2 is going to continue into 2020 for sure. It's a big game and we've only just barely started. Should be lots of fun ahead with Smidgies, Lens Designs, and the Blue Foxy. I won't stop playing RimWorld until we manage to launch a spaceship. I have no idea how long that's going to take me, but that's my goal. Maybe we'll add more mods as we go to make things even more interesting or potentially lethal. As to other games, who knows? I'm going to try to play a few more indie titles on the regular, whether that's more mainstream stuff like Subnautica or straight up strange things like Puss. Maybe not Puss. Thank you all for watching my videos and listening to me ramble. Your continued support is much appreciated. May your year be shining, bright, and full of fun times. I'm Piece of the Universe, you're Piece of the Universe too, and I'll see you later.